Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. If you want to take your shooting experience to the next level, then check out Coltac gear for 100% made in America products. Coltac manufactures specialty gear designed for long-range shooting, hunting, and other tactical applications. From their support bags, suppressor covers, shooting mats, and a whole lot more, Coltac is creating tough, durable, and innovative gear for both civilian and professional markets. Go to coltac.com to see all that they have to offer. That's cole-tac.com. If you are looking to get a new rifle or build your own, look no further than Kelbly'S. Kelbly'S actions and rifles have a higher level of accuracy and hold 92 world records set on either one of their rifles or rifle actions. Whether you're looking for an ultralight mountain rifle or wanting to compete in precision rifle shooting, Kelbly'S has you covered. Go to kelbly.com to find out more or give them a call as their customer service is the best. That's KELBLY.com. Kelbly'S. If you're looking to take your hunting to another level, there's no better way to do it than by subscribing to onX Hunt. If you want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, onX is the #1 GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust onX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. If you want to know more about onX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt or download their app today for a free trial. If you are wanting to become more accurate and deadly with your shooting, one of the best things you can do is upgrade your trigger with a Timney. Timney triggers are 100% made in America and have been since their founding, providing a crisp, reliable, and repeatable trigger break every time. I'll be shooting Timney triggers in my guns this year, and I hope you'll join me in shooting the world's finest trigger. Go to timneytriggers.com to get yours today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack. Today's episode is a special one, as the guest that I am bringing to you today is one that I've actually wanted to have on for quite some time, because when I got into my hunting journey, and it all started by me joining Instagram and then starting to follow hunting content, there was one person that really stood out, and it stood out from the standpoint of the photography and the adventures in which he was sharing. And that is Stephen Drake, a photographer, videographer, and just all around awesome dude. He is here to join us talking about hunting, the adventures, the purpose of content without context is dangerous, and everything else. So without further ado, my man in the hour, Stephen Drake. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, dude, it's a pleasure having you on, man. Really excited for this. Been looking forward to it. And it's just so, there's no irony in this world. I feel like everything happens exactly at the timing in which it's supposed to happen. And I've wanted to have you on for a while, but now's the time, and it's a beautiful thing. So we're squeezing this in before you're taking off for quite a few adventures, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, actually, I was supposed to be on some adventures right now, but kind of like you were saying, things like timing of things is pretty crazy. So a week ago, I got appendicitis,
Oh,
and thank God I was in the States. Like, I probably was going to be in Africa. I also had an opportunity to be in the Yukon, and if either of those would have happened, if I would have been in those places and my appendix like ruptured,
uh-huh.
I don't know. I might have tried to tough it out and donated my body to the Yukon or Africa. So I'm super thankful that I happen to be stateside right now, and part of that is I get to be on this podcast with you.
Oh man, I really appreciate it. And you know what? It's really interesting how, like, us as hunters or just as human beings, to be gritty, to be courageous, but then just to tough it out, resiliency. We're like, oh, yeah, it hurts, but I'm gonna keep going. I'm on this trip. Like, how often do I get to go on this? Like, I gotta make sure I put forth effort. So it's wise of you to listen to your body and not sacrifice your soul up there to the wild, because I know the listeners would appreciate you.
Many mountain men have died due to appendicitis. So
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. Okay, so let's dive into the nitty gritty of it all. You inspired me through the content in which you created. It's one of the things I was drawn to your photography. I think it was actually, if I can recall, a specific photo. It was from an Alaskan hunt where it was like nonstop snow, and I don't even know if you're. It probably would have been like 7 or 8 years ago. But that was a moment where I was like, "Whoa, I want to experience something like that, and I also want to document it as well." Do you by chance know what I'm talking about when me like randomly sharing a picture of yours that was like years ago? I know that this,
I don't know the photo, but, like, I mean, that type of environment, I mean, I absolutely thrive in
yeah,
when it's gnarly, when things are going crazy, when I'm outside of my own comfort zone,
uh huh,
that's when I thrive, and that's when I'm like, I'm really living life, and one really interesting thing within hunting, like, yes, I think we all hunt or we get into hunting thinking it's all about the end product. It's
uh
all
huh,
about like getting to pose with our trophy, with our animal. But there's just so many cool things that happen along the way.
yeah,
And whether, if you're in Alaska, surviving just a nuclear snowstorm and you're 20 miles in, that's a really cool moment in itself. And often those types of moments stand out
hmm,
way more than the kill. One analogy I often talk about is in 2011 I drew a rifle elk tag, or just an elk tag in Montana, and I spent 45 days hunting elk until I finally killed the elk. So
wow,
the kill, so terrible hunter clearly, but but no, the hunt, I'm sorry, the kill was 1/45 of that entire experience.
yeah,
And so, if you're doing it just for the kill, just for that trophy photo, kind of like, well, hey, that ultimately is actually a very small portion of the hunt.
right,
And it also boils down, like, when I think of photography and documenting hunts, it's not just that, it's everything else that happens um along that journey.
yeah.
And obviously when I hunted for elk for 45 days, like, many cool things, many cool experiences happened along the way, and it wasn't just the kill.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Storytelling is so important, and it is a little bit of a lost art, right? Because in a world of instant gratification and give it to me now, right? Like, like bam, bam, bam. I need instant downloads and no commercials and fast food, and to tell a story and still captivate over a period of time. It's quite a skill and something to be truly admired. Where did you feel like you started to hone your storytelling skills?
It started. So when I started hunting, it was I sorry, when I started big game hunting, I would go out with both my parents actually. We kind of learned elk hunting together. It was archery elk hunting. We got to have these really cool experiences together in the woods. And I remember this was like 20 years ago. My dad and I were bow hunting elk, and we were making a little bit of cow talk. And all of a sudden, this cow elk comes running down this game trail, like right towards us.
Mm,
And my dad and I were right together, and I was just like, elk. And he could hear it coming. And so what he did, he literally just laid down. At the time, we were not wise enough to be like, oh, we should set up. It was like, oh no, like, hide. So he lays down behind a bush, but like basically in the trail. And then I like jump behind a tree, and then this cow elk comes running right up, and it actually stops like, I don't know, 2 feet from my dad.
hmm.
My dad's looking the other way, but he can like sense there's something right behind him, and I'm maybe 5 feet away behind a tree watching it all go down. And this cow elk goes down, and she starts sniffing my dad, and she like can't figure out what he is. And my dad has just got this terrified look on his face. But like anyway, moments like that is really what I love about hunting.
Hmm.
And those types of experiences and those types of stories is what, me as a photographer and videographer and just content creator in general, like, that's the type of stuff that really gets me going, that I want to try to portray
Yeah.
in my work. And it's really only those, you couldn't script that moment, and it's only those types of things that can happen in hunting,
Mm, yeah.
in all the in so many other outdoor pursuits and outdoor activities. Like, you really lack that I guess, connection with nature or connection with animals specifically.
Yeah.
I used to be big backcountry skier, and I think that's where like a lot of my passion for the mountains was is rooted.
Mhm.
But then it really amplified when I started to kind of combine that with like the pursuit of hunting and being able to have like these interactions with wildlife.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny because my love from from hunting stemmed from being out in the wilderness as well. I was raised a backpacker and fisherman, but at the age of 7 years old was my first experience hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, some section of it in the state of Washington, and that was like mind blowing. I truly believe, like, I'm not even providing my own children with these experiences. I feel guilty because of that because I need to give them these experiences that I had. Um, and yet, because it's so life transforming, like, right? Like, we have these experiences, we connect with nature, we see things that very few people ever get to see with their own eyes. And then it's like, holy, you come home and you look around and you're like, if you could have seen it, if you could have been
Right.
there, and then you document it with a camera and it just makes it that much better. So tell me, you started into this with the whole idea of like, when I got into hunting, and you're like, well, when I got into big game hunting, tell us your hunting journey. How did that go?
Yeah, so I grew up hunting mostly upland birds and waterfowl
Hmm.
with my dad. And when I said grew up, I mean I probably started when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And in Montana, at the time, you couldn't legally hunt till you were, I think, 12, maybe
Yeah.
14. I don't remember. It's been a while. But so anyway, so I grew up just following my dad and joining him and his buddies, and we would always go do these big bird hunts, and it was super fun. And then my first two, I think my first 2 years hunting, I just did upland bird. And then when I turned 14, I saw a bull elk for the first time. I was actually riding in the back of my parents' pickup truck. They were driving, and it was like last light, and there was big thunderstorms around. So there was like lightning in the distance. It was kind of a spooky evening, and um, I'm actually standing in the bed of the pickup, looking forward, and all of a sudden, sparks start shooting off from either side of the road, and
Hmm.
it's pretty dark at this point, and I was just like, "What the heck is that?" And two big old 6 point bull elk actually crossed the road, and they jumped the fence, but they broke the top wire on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
So that's where the sparks were. And then they ran off to the side, and they got up on this little hill, and they just stood there and were silhouetted. And that was like I think that was literally my first experience like seeing an elk. And it legit scared me. And I had a few other moments once I actually started hunting that I got actually physically scared by the elk. But it's just like, man, like such an impactful moment. And then literally the next year, I bought a bow, or actually I got gifted a bow for my 15th birthday, and yeah, the rest is history.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, when you were in high school or after high school, did you find yourself hunting by yourself? Was it with family, friends? Were you starting to invite other people? What was your journey?
Yeah, so when I started hunting elk hunting away, it was I mostly hunted with my mom and my dad, and that was in high school. I had a few hunting friends, but hunting is such a lot of it's kind of this like very secretive private thing.
Right.
And so it was just like you kind of want to like keep it close, like I did have a few like really close knit hunting buddies back in high school, and I would do some hunting with them, but for
Yeah.
the most part it was my parents.
Yeah.
And then when I went to college, I went to college, it was like 2 hours from where I grew up. And just that extra 2 hour drive, I just wasn't able to hunt with my parents anymore.
Hmm.
Also, I had like random schedule, college schedule. I had like Tuesday afternoons off,
Yeah.
and then like all day Thursday off. So it's like I got to hunt midweek.
Yeah.
And so once I started doing that, I did hunt mostly by myself. I did have a few friends that I met through college that I hunted with. But that's also about the same time that I picked up a camera, kind of as a way to be able to share some of these cool experiences I was having, back with my parents, and that like the people that I started hunting with, and started having these really
Yeah.
amazing experiences with.
That's so cool. I love that. I love that. So, you're born and raised in Montana?
Yep.
So the whole idea of you were hunting Montana in the good old days, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, every if I think back 10 years ago, like, man, if I knew what I knew now, and then it's like, oh my gosh, if I go back 20 years, like, holy smokes. Like, dude, my early days of bow hunting, like I, didn't have a rangefinder, like made so many what I think of now as silly mistakes, but it's how you learn, right?
Right.
It's just like, man, kind of like anything. If I could take the skills I had now and apply them 20 years ago, like, whoo.
Oh, dude, totally. That like my journey of hunting has been like well, it's been documented almost the entire time, so it's really fascinating to like go back and look and I wasn't the best shooter and I took some grief. I've taken a lot of grief because I've shared videos on social media and it's like, well, or YouTube or whatever. It's like, well, people really ride high horses
They
and
do.
keyboard warriors when it comes to hunting. And I understand like you owe it to the animal and we get to be our best version and hone our craft and really own it. And at the same time, not discrediting what I said at all, but the idea that, man, we're figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
Like, like people start somewhere. Just because I bring a camera with me doesn't mean I know what I'm doing,
Right.
right? And like, it's a lot easier for me to come home to my wife and three children, little boys, and be like, hey kids, instead of me telling you about this, let me show you this, right?
Right.
And this is what daddy's been doing while I've been gone, and watch this, and you know and for me, that's one of the biggest reasons of why I wanted to document my hunts. Wasn't for any sort of ego. It wasn't ego driven. It was for just pure historical documentation and legacy with my family, but then also just for me to go back and look at, watch
Yeah.
growth and see growth and see the changes that I've made over time. However, and I mentioned this off air before we started recording, so I want to bring it up is you got put on blast by an account called Hunt Quietly earlier this spring or early summer, and when I saw that, and I was like, dude, Steven is just a cool dude, a chill dude. I can't believe he's getting put on blast like this. But it was all, the idea of like, well, you're ruining hunting because you're promoting it with a camera, right? Like you're giving away the secrets, like what you're saying. Like it's such a secretive thing. It's like, well, but is it? Because if everything stems off a Pittman Robertson Act and money and dollars going into that, then anything that inspires people to want to get more involved only adds more money to the pot to protect and defend and to conserve for next generations. At least that's how I look at it. What's your viewpoint on media and media covers photography, videography, social media when it comes to hunting?
I think if you look at like this latest like attempt at this big land grab
Hmm.
with from Senator Mike Lee and all this stuff, like never have I ever seen hunters unite over something more so in my life, probably.
Yeah,
And it's literally because we have social media. We're able to learn about these issues and these topics and come together better now than we've ever been able to. And it's obviously a sign of the times.
hmm,
10 years ago, when like how would you even know about half this stuff? Like you just straight up wouldn't.
right.
And so it's because of social media, it's because of dare I say, influencers, but people posting about it and talking about it and be like, hey, this is an issue that affects all of us. If we didn't have that, like we might have just lost so much. So it's been a really interesting thing. It was kind of it was a really big win for social media and within hunting, I feel like.
Yeah. Um, you mentioned influencer, and I hate that term, and I think I hate that term because um, the credibility that goes
Right.
along with it, right?
Yeah.
Like I never felt like I'm good and good, not to have like false sense of knowing what I'm doing or if I'm good enough, but like I've been learning as I've been sharing. And so yes, I have influence, but one of the things I want to talk about when it comes to influence is the whole idea that influence comes from leaders. Leaders have influence, and good, strong leaders have more influence. So when you call yourself an influencer, the idea is that you're actually a leader within the hunting community or whatever area or of expertise or notoriety that you want to be known for. But at the end of the day, everyone's an influencer. Everyone that listens to this podcast is a leader in their own right. Maybe it's their leader in their home with their wife and children, or a leader in their job, or a leader in society, or whatever it is. Like, we're all leaders. We all have influence. So then if we all have influence and we want to make sure that we leave a positive, lasting influence, then we need to think about how we operate in that space.
Yep.
And so, my brother, he is a brand. He's formed a business around being a brand specialist. He's actually rebranding North America Kubota, like Kubota tractors.
Oh wow.
So his slogan that he came up with will be hitting markets here pretty soon. And he always says that content without context is dangerous. And I think we as influencers, we as podcasters, videographers, photographers, anyone with a cell phone in their hand that has a camera attached to it, you all are influencers. And so when we post our information or pictures, we have to provide context, because context out of hand without content without context in the wrong hands is extremely dangerous, right? And then everyone's just making judgment calls. I saw today on Facebook, some anti-hunting group or like PETA organization posted a picture of two guys with their bows kneeling down, smiling, with two arrows and a turtle. Well, they crop the picture so that all you can see is the turtle shell. It's a foam target from a 3D
Oh geez.
match. And I'm like, but if you are reading it and just looking at that content,
Oh
just
yeah.
you're like, horrible. Like, who's out there shooting turtles in the, like,
Oh geez.
but that's the type of stuff we have to constantly think of.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
it's really interesting because then like obviously now we have the ability to manipulate photos. You can do crazy stuff with AI. Like you could really like anti people that were opposed to hunting can really stir the pot. But let's rewind even 10 years ago.
yeah,
So I go back and forth on this, and I personally don't. I do take trophy shots like the grip and grins, but to me, like the moment is not at all about me. It's about the animal, and kind of what I really love to do is I love to just shoot like these really beautiful images of these animals that many of us spend most of our lives hunting and pursuing.
yeah.
And I really don't post photos of me like with grip and grins just because one, it doesn't do it for me, but like two, I'm just like people that don't understand hunting, often they will look at that and they'll be like, ooh, that guy is just smiling at the death of that animal. They don't understand that all the time and effort that went into it. And so again, now things have completely changed with AI and the ability to manipulate a photo or take a
Hmm.
turtle target and make it look like two yahoos just shish kebab to turtle. But
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Well, it's funny. I had an interesting experience one time, and this was back in 2019. Yeah, 2019. I was going through a leadership training down in San Diego, California. I was flying multiple times down there, going through emotional intelligence, leadership training, really working on myself and stepping into my own power and owning it. Well, I was in this environment with hundreds of other people. And it was at that time that I was just about starting my podcast. Like, this podcast, it used to be called The Soulful Hunter. I've rebranded to Soul Seekers since. But there was all these people from all different walks of life, different political views, religious views, um, sexualities, like, all over the board. And this one guy who always just, it was like sandpaper to me. Like we were in the same group, so we needed to, cooperate together and work together. But he just rubbed me wrong, and I just rubbed him wrong. And my professor in college, he was like, "Yeah, some people are just going to be allergic to." I was like, "Okay." I mean, we'll chalk it up to that. Anyway, so all these people were adding others on Facebook because a lot of the groups, we had our own Facebook group that we did, Facebook lives and got connected. To make a long story short, is at the time when I'm hunting and getting into hunting and posting content, and he comments on one of my grip and grins, "Why are you so happy?" And
Interesting.
I was like, I wanted to get defensive, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because I know in cognitive behavioral therapy, anger covers hurt and or fear, right?
Mm.
Like people naturally get angry when they're either hurt or they're fearful that they're going to lose something or something bad's going to happen. And so inside of me, it's like, oh, how could you, I wanted to get angry at this guy. And I was like, wait, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's truly asking a sincere question. Why am I so happy holding, whatever it was that I was holding? And I said, "Have you ever gone fishing before?" His name's Will. And he's like, "Yeah, I've gone fishing." I go, "Did you ever catch fish?" He's like, "What? Yeah." I was like, "Did it make you smile?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "It took me a lot of work, effort, energy, time, resources, everything to get to that moment. I'm not smiling because the animal is dead. I'm smiling that I have culminated everything that I've put effort and energy, time, resources, time away from my family, all of that into this moment in which I have achieved a goal that I set out to achieve for myself." That is what's in that picture. Like you see a dead animal, I see me stepping into a provider life. I see me being able to not have to rely on the grocery store anymore. I see me like everything and from that one photo. But that photo has the ability to make people angry if you don't have dialogue, and not everyone has the time to have dialogue, and this goes into the whole content without any sort of context
Right.
is a dangerous thing.
Yep, yep, for sure. That's one thing I like. I used to always tell people, like, man, when you're, especially if you're getting into hunting and you're, because everybody's on social media, especially these young kids. It's like, take your phone out, like, literally film the whole hunt, film all the cool things that happen along the way, and post that stuff. Because if you're purely trying to get like this sweet photo of a grip and grin of you and a critter,
Hmm.
like it might not happen. And like,
Right.
and so, A, you're going to be disappointed, and then B, even if you do get that photo of at the end with you and an animal, like if there's no context, you're like you might be actually harming hunting more by only sharing the grip and grin.
Hmm.
I'm always just like, share everything, share everything that goes into these experiences, because honestly, what we get to experience in the woods is no different, or maybe even more immersive than a lot of people that are just out there hiking or fishing. Even like
Oh yeah.
some of these react or some of these interactions we could have with animals, it's so dang unique, and it's just like, man, we need to share more of that stuff, because like that is what hunting is all about, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah. It's really interesting. So part of my journey, and I'll share the story with you because it's very pertinent to what we're talking about right here, is everyone is an ambassador for hunting, whether you want to be or not, if you are a hunter. The minute you sign up to do something is the minute that you are an ambassador for hunting. Wherever you go, oh, that guy's a hunter. Well, yeah, but I haven't shot anything in a couple years. Still a hunter, right? Like my contract with my school district that I teach at says even when I'm not teaching, I'm still a representative of the school district,
Right.
right? So everything that I do is being scrutinized and watched. Well, that's what it is when we become hunters. We're signing up for more than just learning a skill set, learning the ability to procure food, whatever. Like you're signing up with these unwritten, unspoken rules that people don't share, and we need to advocate this. And so I went on my very first backcountry hunt, 9 miles into the backcountry, chasing black bears. Very first big game animal I ever shot was a black bear because I was a high school football coach, and it was the only season in which was open prior to football kicking off that I didn't, I had actual time to dedicate to. So I hike 9 miles in, and I recruited two of my buddies at the time to come with me. And I'm like, okay, everything I know about hunting, which was very minimal, was like get as far away from roads as possible and get away from people, right? I was like, okay, well, 9 miles. I mean, that's a pretty long ways to go. So we get in there, and all of a sudden, dog is barking. Ruff, ruff, ruff. I'm like, what's going on? 3 day hikers and their dog come rolling in. It was a female yoga instructor from Seattle and their two male students, which that's a little interesting squad by itself. But and I'm in full camouflage in August, and they roll up, and they're not expecting to see us. I'm not expecting to see them. I'm a little pissed that their dog's there barking. And I'm like, dude, you're gonna blow out this entire area, and it took me so long to get in here. So she comes up to me and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm hunting. She goes, you're hunting? What are you hunting for? Bear. There's bears here? Yeah. Yeah, there's bears here. Well, what are you going to do with it? We're going to eat it. You can eat bear. And like the conversation just keeps
Oh,
going
yeah.
on and on. It just goes to show like ignorance is bliss, but ignorance of life can cause a lot of issues, right? So at that very first moment of a backcountry hunt, I already had to step in and start defending hunting
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the
be a
get-go.
master for it for
Yeah,
sure.
it was
Crazy.
truly fascinating. So as the day progresses, I tell them, what's going on. Like, hey, this is where we are hunting. They're like, oh yeah, okay, well, we'll try to not mess up your hunt, which that was nice of them. I've had
Yeah.
other experiences like this elk on the back wall that you can see. I actually had hikers intentionally mess me up on my hunt.
Oh, no.
And they told me that.
Oh, geez.
I hope you don't kill anything, and I hope we scared off every animal. Like, just ridiculous.
Jeez.
And so needless to say that the day goes on, comes the evening time, and I'm getting a meal in before the evening hunt and cooling off in some water. And the dog is back, and I'm like, dude, you guys are day hiking. You got to be leaving here soon, right? Like you got a long walk ahead of you. And so we're getting ready, and all of a sudden the lady goes, bear. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, get out of here. And I look over, and she yells it again, and I'm like, oh, well, if there's a bear there, like, thanks a lot, you just scared it away, and I highly doubt that there's a bear there. So my two buddies, they grab their guns, they go take off running. I am wearing my Birkenstocks because I got a little granola in me, and slipped on my Birkenstocks, walked up to her, and had a bino harness because I was like, I'm not getting a gun. I don't truly believe you. And I walked up, and her eyes were just like big, and her face was ghost white. And I was like, did you really see a bear? And she just shook her head, and like, I go, where? She pointed out. And I was like, dude, there's no way that there was a bear there. That was like 125 yards away from where all of us are. And sure enough, I end up chasing this bear down and shooting it at 30 yards.
Wow.
They didn't get to see it, but they heard the gunshot, and then I heard a yell like, "Is it safe to come up there?" Like. But that was like my very first experience. Well, it was my first big game animal I ever killed. Up until that point, I've killed a coyote, right? Or like as a kid, a Red Ryder BB gun shooting like chipmunks or little birds in the backyard type thing. And then instantly thrust into this whole conversation of, okay, not only am I having to figure this out in the get go, like I've never skinned an animal, never gutted an animal, all this, at the same time, I'm having to navigate conversations with people that are, at this point, I believe to be anti-hunting.
Right, right.
Like not non-hunting, like truly anti-hunting.
Yeah. Did you
And
convert them? Are they hunting curious now?
yeah,
Or after that
right?
combo?
Dude, that term "hunting curious" really blew like you know what is really fascinating? I never got their contact info. I would love to actually hear the story from their perspective,
Right, yeah.
right? Yeah, we rolled up and all of a sudden there's these dudes there and, like anyway, so 2 of them actually wanted to see the bear. One of the guys was like, "I don't even wanna get near it." Which was fascinating to me. So, but that was my first experience with being an ambassador for hunting. And I think if more people had those experiences where they had to actually articulate the words of why we do what we do to other people, hunting would be protected and defended a whole lot more.
Totally. Yeah, people would have a better understanding of what it is, and yeah, honestly, if it wasn't for social media and especially podcasts,
Yeah.
and, like, the amount of people that and not just hunting, like, everything. Like, like, I guess the older I get, the less opinionated I am about most things. There's a few things that I think I know, like, really, really well, and I try to stay in my lane, but everything else, just because now we have all this access to information, it's like, "Oh, I actually don't know a lot." So I try to be very open-minded to most things now,
Mhm.
just because it's like yeah, there's just so much information out there now,
Yeah.
and we can access a bajillion different viewpoints and just get a whole different understanding of the world.
Yeah.
And so I think non-hunters should listen to podcasts like this one. I mean, there's many things that I listen to that I just go out of my way to listen to that are like totally counter to maybe what I believe in my heart,
Mhm.
just because that's like I want to understand where someone else is coming from.
Yeah, you gotta, Sun Tzu, Art of War, right?
Yeah,
The better you know your enemy, the better you are gonna be, right? And
absolutely.
not that we call humanity our enemy, right? That we don't want to dictate in that regards, but just knowing counterpoints, point and counterpoint. Like, how do I talk about something when someone's attacking me from this angle or upset from this angle? Because it's all emotional driven, right? Everything stems out of fear, scarcity mindset, right? A lack of. And I tie it back to I have a seminar talk that how to talk about hunting. And you know, the whole idea stems from, we get this anthropomorphization. Is that the saying that right? Where we apply human characteristics to animals.
Right.
And the whole idea of a teddy bear, right? Like what's the one thing that was always safe and secure in everyone's youth, even if you're traumatized? You had some sort of stuffed animal, right?
Then you shot it.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you were watching videos of Bambi dying and being shot illegally out of, or Bambi's dad being shot illegally out of season, and that whole
Right.
story. If you go back and watch Bambi as an adult, you're like, dude, that timeline of sequences, that's
Ugh.
not even true. That's not
Yeah.
even lining up properly. And so, as a child, you suffer loss when you are starting to become emotionally attached to something. And then when something brings up that loss, that causes hurt, and then what covers hurt? Anger. And we get these people that are emotionally tied to these moments in their past that they can't open their eyes and just have a base conversation of like, you know what? I am emotionally hurt. I'm traumatized by whatever. I see your perspective. I may not agree with it, but you know, it's not like I'm out there slashing your tires and keying your car or whatever.
Yeah.
It's truly fascinating. And you grew up in Montana, which from an outsider's perspective, I would imagine the majority of everyone up there is pro hunting.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really not until the last 10 years that there's gotten to be a lot more people that are not as pro hunting. But growing up, I mean, yeah, Montana is a very, very western state. I
Right.
mean, many people, especially like ranching communities, I mean, you literally live off of hunting. You get as many doe B tag or like doe tags as you can every year so you can fill your freezer.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's like a way of life.
Oh, I love it. It's awesome. I mean, and you live in Bozeman, so Bozeman's starting to. It almost feels like it's taken a turn slightly.
It
Does
is,
is
yeah.
Bozeman's identity of being true Montana? You feel like it used to be a mecca for hunting in the hunting industry and everything outdoors, but now, like, ugh, it's still hard for people to wrap their heads around hunting in Bozeman.
Yeah, Bozeman's gotten really interesting. So I moved to Bozeman in 2008. And back then, like, there wasn't really any hunting brands or like, I mean, there's like Google offices and stuff here now, but like that stuff didn't really exist back then.
Mhm.
Like you would walk around like downtown Main Street and there would be legit cowboys that would have revolvers on their side. And they were legit. Nowadays, you go downtown Bozeman, there might be some dude dressed up in, you know, God knows what, but like cowboy attire, and he's got like a six shooter on both sides with like a belt of just like ammo. And you're like, oh, this is like his appearance. This is his identity. This isn't like he isn't like a cowboy.
It's his
He's just
persona.
it's
Yeah.
his persona. Yeah, and there's a lot of that. But I will say Bozeman, I mean, it remains like it's a super outdoorsy town. It's still very much that. If anything, it's more of a mountain town now than it's ever been. I think 10 plus years ago, it was just more of a Western town. Now it's more of a mountain town. But with that, you get a lot of yeah, you get a lot of people with a lot of differing viewpoints,
Mhm.
and it definitely feels more like a city at times. And so, I keep glomming on, holding on to kind of the old identity of Bozeman, and definitely enjoy spending time away from I call it the big city, but it's not that big. But
Right.
no, yeah, things have definitely changed, and there's definitely a lot more people with differing opinions and mindsets. But for the most part, I've really never run into anyone in Bozeman or in Montana even that's really been anti-hunting or given me a lot of flack, or even that we've had to have like a hard discussion about it.
Mm.
A little bit, I do some speaking engagements like locally at a couple of the brands I work with. Just talking about hunting, and kind of what I really like to do is I like to share a lot of my failures. Like I'm the most like unmacho guy ever, and I'm so happy to share my failures because that's how I learned. And I'm really hopeful that like sharing my failures will help people moving forward. And for the most part, everyone is extremely open to that. They love like the honesty. And even people that I do talk to a lot of people that are pretty new to hunting. Some, they just started last year or something, and they're so thankful to like hear some of these stories of when things didn't go awry, or when you do everything you can to make sure it goes perfect, but it
Right.
doesn't because it's hunting and you just don't have control over everything. And
Right.
um, anyway, but for the most part, people have been really receptive to it. And yeah, Bozeman as a community is still great, but much more of a mountain town, less of a western town now.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you mean by that. And if listeners don't really understand, I would say, cowboys. Western means cowboys, means self-reliance, means determination, means going out on the open prairie, Lone Ranger style. Mountain town means lattes, ski gear, REI, granola, um, type concept. At least that's what I envision when you say a mountain town versus a western
Oh,
town.
100%,
Yeah.
yeah. And, like, everybody dresses the part too, like, they all look like they're super outdoorsy, and they got all the gear, but there's a term that I heard, this is I think originated in the East Coast, but it's called athleisure wear. So it's you look like you're an athletic person, but you're actually just in, like, athletic clothes because it's comfortable, so you take on this persona of being super outdoorsy and athletic, but you're actually not, like, there's there's actually a lot of that happens here.
Oh, that's funny. I like that. I like that. Okay,
Uh
well, you mentioned you like to share stories of your failures. Um, Give us a story right now of an opportunity that people might be able to learn from, in which you would have shared at one of your speaking engagements.
Yeah, so my first ever, bull elk, I think this was 2015 maybe, so 10 years ago. So I'd been bow hunting pretty hard for 4 straight years, and a lot of close calls, and actually a lot of moments where an elk would come in and I would be so mortified, maybe not mortified, but like so full of adrenaline that I literally froze. I couldn't move.
Oh,
And at one point I had like a really nice 6-point bull. He was at 10 yards looking the other way, had no idea it was there. I was too scared to even move. I couldn't draw my bow. It was just like, oh my gosh. So, you know, that happens. Early hunters, you forget to look through your peep. Like you you draw your bow with your finger on the release and shoot. Like I've done all of those things. But specifically, the first elk that I did finally take with my bow. Again, it was my fourth year hunting, and so the week before I shot this bull that I ended up killing, I actually shot a bull right in the shoulder blade, so like right in the bone, and my arrow went in probably 3 inches. And back then, I didn't know in the time that that was not a lethal kill, and I spent like 2 days looking for this thing, and it's like, brought my arrow back home and showed it some buddies, and they're like, "Oh, dude, like that elk's fine. Like he's just got a probably a bruised shoulder."
Yeah.
I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Oh, no way." So fast forward 1 week, and I get an opportunity at this awesome 5x5, and he was at 40 yards, which was like kind of on the perimeter of outer edge of my shooting ability or distance. And so I come to full draw, and I'm like, okay, well, you don't want to hit him in the right in the shoulder blade. So I intentionally aimed back a little bit. And by a little, it was actually quite a bit.
You gut shot him.
And so I basically gut shot him. And then the other thing I did was, so this was all when this happened, this was kind of before all social media. Like the only really form of social media was these hunting forums.
Hmm.
There was a hunting forum called, I think it was 24-hour campfire.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but like that's where I'd get my information. Like, you didn't like I had a few mentors, but I mean I was kind of learning bow hunting with my parents. And so like we didn't know.
Hmm.
And so back then, I thought a big cutting diameter was like the end all. I was like, I want to put the biggest hole in a critter if I get an opportunity. Like, big hole, that's it. And so I was hunting with a turkey expandable.
Oh
It
yeah.
so it was expandable broadhead, and it had like a 2.5 to 3 inch like opening once it went. And I was shooting a 70-pound bow, so it wasn't like a light setup, but like not ideal for elk. Anyway, shoot this bull, hit him back, but at the time I didn't know how far back. He runs like 100 yards. He turns sideways, tips over, legs go up. I was like, "Oh my god, I just killed my first elk," like elated. But then I was like, "Okay, I have to wait 45 minutes." Like that's one of the rules, after you kill an elk, if you see him go down, like you're supposed to wait 45 minutes cuz got to make sure he's dead. So I wait 45 minutes. Then I go kind of sneaking up there, and I've got an arrow knocked, and I get, I don't know, 5 feet from the bull. And then all of a sudden he whips his head around, and he looks at me, and he jumps up, and he just runs off. And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, what just happened?" And as he's running away, he's got a giant hole in his side, and he's got guts literally hanging out,
Hmm.
and his tongue's hanging out, like he's in obviously really rough shape. But I was just completely dumbfounded. And fortunately, where I was at, I had cell service, and so I was able to call my dad, and he was back in Helena where I grew up. And so he drove 4 hours out and hiked way in to meet me. And then we basically we waited 8 hours until we went and pursued the bull again. And he only went like 200 yards, and sneaking through the trees, there he is. And at this point, I'm like, I'm gonna come to full draw and just get another arrow in him. That's in
Oh
my
yeah.
mind. That's all I need to do is just try to shoot him again. Shockingly, he's still alive. He jumps up, runs off. I draw quick, but it's in thick timber. I shoot, I miss, and we proceed to do this for like basically 24 straight hours. We would wait 8 hours, or maybe actually after that point, it was like wait 4 hours and like go sneak up because I was like, he's obviously hurting. Like I got to be able to get another arrow in him because every time he'd run, he'd only go a couple hundred yards. But eventually, that bull did die. But it basically took him. I mean, we recovered him the next morning, and so
Hmm.
it took him over 24 hours to finally expire. And I don't know when I had the realization. I don't know if it was right then or if it was after the fact, but I learned. I was like, oh, there's a penetration equation in this broadhead arrow setup. It
Hmm.
wasn't just like punch a big hole in him, because I clearly punched a big hole in him, but it appeared that my arrow probably went in like 6 inches, maybe.
Yeah.
And so it didn't like, I mean, he didn't die from getting punctured in the lungs or like a good heart shot or anything. He didn't like bleed out. He died from basically getting hit in the guts. And so for me, like huge learning experience,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
like the next year, I literally like I switched to like a much smaller but still deadly effective. I think it was a slick trick, a little 4 blade slick trick, and ended up shooting a bull at 20 yards, and he ran like 50 yards and just tipped over and actually died this time. And it was just like such an aha moment. But for me, and especially back then, like I didn't have a mentor per se. Like I
Yeah.
had hunting forums, and it's just like, how do you learn?
Yeah.
It's like that's how you learn. So it's yeah, you just like anything, you come a long ways. You start out like I think of my early days of like skiing and ski racing and backcountry skiing. I mean the just being able to stand up on skis versus like now,
Right.
doing all sorts of wild acrobatic moves on skis. It's just like anything. It's potentially a steep learning curve, and don't be hard on yourself. And yeah, I don't know. That's one of many early hunting mistakes. I'm a lot more dialed now, but man, even now, like you got to be open to the crazy things that can happen. So
I freaking love it. So the picture of the elk that's on my back wall, all you listeners, there is an old video. It's like a minute and a half of the recovery of this elk that's on the YouTube channel. I start crying because my wife had a miscarriage right before I went on this hunt, and I almost didn't go on the hunt, and it was pretty fascinating story. Anyways, this is my very first archery hunt. I ended up shooting a Pope and Young 6x6 elk in Western Washington. Um, and before I went, my buddy who went with me, he's like, dude, whatever you do not shoot this elk in the front shoulder. Like
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man. Cool, I get it. Like he's like, no, don't shoot it. Wherever you shoot it, don't shoot it in the front shoulder. So when you're telling me your story, like you front shouldered this elk, I know from experience 100% what you're talking about. I draw back and I am just shaking, like, oh, how am I going to do this? And finally, I'm like, I got to shoot because this bull's not going to stand there forever. And I shoot, and it's just whap, nothing but front shoulder.
yeah.
But luckily, I don't know if it was the broadhead in combination of like how fast my arrow was or where I hit it exactly, but it broke his front shoulder.
Oh
and
wow.
and he limped up and then ran downhill. And so before the hunt, my buddy, he was like, dude, um, if you shoot it and if you shoot an elk and it runs uphill, he goes, you're never gonna catch that thing. Like you didn't kill it. He goes, you shoot it and it runs downhill, you did a good job. So so I so I shoot and I stick this elk right in the front shoulder. And my buddy and I, we drew straws for who was the first shooter. So this is day 2 of the hunt. He was first shooter day 1. I am first shooter day 2. And this is on the hunt where I had a bunch of hikers want it to intentionally ruin the hunt. There are some fires going on in the state of Washington, and so it was diverting hikers off of some main trails into my area. And so my buddy had full draw on this bull broadside before I even shot, but he was a good enough friend to not shoot
oh
and
wow.
let me have this opportunity. And
oh,
so
what a
after I
guy.
after I front shouldered it, instincts kicked in for me, which is weird because never archery hunted before, never done any of this. I instantly knew I need to shoot until it falls over. So
Mm.
I shoot, I don't know that I front shoulder it. I just see it kind of limp and the arrow sticking out of its, shoulder, and it takes off right near me. And so I grab a second arrow, and this thing is able to check up at like, man, I don't know, 30, 35 yards. And I send another arrow, and all of a sudden I hear a whack, like it hit a tree. And my buddy comes running down the trail, and he's pissed. It's like, where did you put that second arrow?
oh no.
Where? Because he saw me front shoulder the bull. He goes, where'd you put that second arrow? I go, I don't know, man. I swear I was like right on it, but all I heard was a tree. Turns out I double lunged it, passed through, and then the arrow stuck in a tree
wow.
behind it. But to go so tying all these stories together is I ended up shooting that bull 2 times while it was on its feet. But even though it was down, I actually ended up shooting a third arrow into it, and it was already dead, but I was like, "I am not letting this thing get up and run off on me."
Absolutely, yeah.
So 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 that's my story of elk hunting to tie in with yours, and it's so funny, like, you can't read experiences like that. You can't like, you have to firsthand experience that and be like, "Now I know why people say that."
Yeah,
Right? Like, and that's what's amazing about hunting is that it's experiential. Like, you truly don't understand the power that it holds to transform a life until you are put yourself in the scenario and you experience it firsthand.
yeah.
And that when it comes to defending hunting and promoting hunting, this is what how we need to talk. And that's why sharing these stories, whether visually, verbally, or whatever, is so impactful because people learn the most through experiences. Right? Like, I can tell you, "Hey, don't touch that stove. Hey, don't touch that stove. Hey, don't touch." Ah! I'm never touching a hot stove ever again because I
Right.
experienced the pain, right? And that's how we need to treat people who do not hunt. So, that's some of the takeaways for me. I don't know. Does that bring up anything inside you where you're like, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about."
Well, I don't know what the percentage is, but I feel like what 98% of the world's population lives in like these giant cities, and
Uh-huh.
probably most of those people have never experienced the outdoors, especially hunting. And so like I feel like we're a pretty lucky batch that actually gets to have these experiences and gets to share these stories. And once you have an experience like that, it is profoundly impactful on your life. I mean, I just love being outside and in the mountains
Yeah.
by myself with friends, doesn't matter. Like the world is just a different place when I'm out in the mountains.
Yeah.
And I honestly I feel bad for the people that have never really experienced that. And so yeah, I think, obviously being an ambassador for hunting, being able to share these stories and why it's so impactful and meaningful to us. And also being cognizant of, hey, maybe like be cognizant of what resonates or has potential to resonate with a lot of people, and also be cognizant of maybe pictures or things that maybe won't like leave a positive taste with of hunting with other people. And I don't know, like again, it's totally part of hunting, but sometimes I see people post pictures of these just like so much blood and gore,
Mhm.
or maybe there actually was a photo of like two guys that shish kebabbed a turtle, and it's just like, like I get it, it's 100% legal, like there's nothing, like you didn't do anything wrong, but for the sake of hunting and for the sake of people that are either on the fence of hunting or bi curious hunters, like leave a positive taste in their mouth, like don't rub them the wrong way, and just be cognizant of what you share.
Yeah, let me ask you this, and I understand that, and I like to play devil's advocate, and more so because I'm a libertarian, right? Like, I believe like live and let live until it crosses into my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So when it comes to that, it's like, okay, stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason,
Yeah.
and at the same time, if we I don't want to say legalize or use laws and restrictions for this type of stuff, or like just publicly shame or whatever it
Yeah.
is, like, I still believe that people have the right to be able to live and do what they want without it infringing on the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of others. even
Oh,
though
100%, man.
even though I want to defend hunting and make sure it lasts, I'm like, well, yeah, but at some point everyone has, I believe, truly believe, like, some sort of moment where it's like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have posted that, or maybe I didn't give enough context, or but at the same time it just kind of is what it is. I don't.
Oh, I mean, 100%. Yeah, it's so interesting. So I'm 36. My dad is, I think he'll turn 66 here in about a month. But he's hunted big game most of his life. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. I mean, we did kind of start picking up the big game hunting, bug together. But he's been doing it quite a bit for the last 20 years, and he's killed a number of elk now. And like the transition as a hunter, like when you first start hunting, you're and I was this way 100%. I was like, I just want to kill stuff. I was
Hmm.
so like focused on the kill and like getting that grip and grin photo. To now, it's much more about the experience. And like, yeah, I'm actually a way better hunter now, and I'm probably way more successful than I ever was. So I'm actually going to be able to get those types of photos with critters way more now. But then I look at my dad, and a couple years ago in Montana, he shot a really cool bull elk, like big 6 point on one side, and then like this just weird like drop tine, and then like this giant, it was like a 30-inch G1 on his right side.
Oh, weird.
Just the weirdest, funkiest bull on the planet. And I was so excited because I'd seen that bull before. I knew of him, and I was just like, this thing is something special.
Yeah.
But for my dad, it was he really like he loves hunting. He loves the experiences. He loves these encounters that we've got to have over time together, and he loves the meat, especially.
Hmm.
But in the moment, he did like there was nothing that he enjoyed about like taking the life of that elk. And so and actually it was honestly like a pretty emotional time for him. And I actually see some of that happening within myself now too. Like I don't get excited when I actually it's not that I don't get excited. It's more of like a giant relief when I kill something, but it's never like this celebration. If anything, it's more of just like it's just this very like sobering moment, I guess.
Yeah.
But again, fast forward to my dad being 66, and like just hunting is a different experience for him now. And he told me, he's like, honestly, and this is not to be like anti-hunting at all. It's just kind of his connection to the land and to life and to the animals. He's like, I would have rather have probably just seen that elk be on the landscape and then look for his shed antlers in the spring. So
I mean, I had a conversation. Actually, the episode that I released this week, so all the listeners, not every episode goes out the following week when I record or whatever, but I actually, in that episode, I talk about episode 333. I actually talk about how I can see the perspective of being, uh, like almost vegan to
yeah.
per se, and not that I am a protein eater. I am a meat eater. I that is health to me. It cures diseases. But at the same time, I see like respecting life so much that you don't want to take it, right?
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's 100%. Yeah. It's respecting, it's a like profound, deep respect for life
Yeah.
is really what it is. So
I want to pivot here for a second, and we're going to talk about grip and grins because you look at a lot of old timey photos of people hunting, but really just old timey photos like black and white sepia photos from like the 1800s. People rarely ever smiled in
right.
photos. And
Yeah.
and so you being a photographer and I love smiling. It's one of my favorite things to do. Like I live with my emotions on my face apparently. I still see in today modern day society a lot of hunters post a picture and they are like stone cold. They look upset.
Right. They look pretty mad at the world, eh?
Yes. I don't get that. What do you think that is?
Dude, I don't get it either. So my professional career has been photographing hunting and hunting adventures and people.
Mhm.
And like the number one thing as a photographer, and when I think of photos, you want to add emotion. And when you're photographing people, the easiest way to add emotion is when you can see their face, and if they're smiling or if they're not smiling, if they're mad.
Mhm.
And if someone's doing a grip and grin, but they're not grinning, like they look pretty mad, and
Yeah.
you're like, that's a it's like a profoundly moving photo. You like look at that now and you're like, what the heck is wrong?
Yeah.
And so I don't know why people do it. I've been on a lot of hunts with folks, and um they will smile and like do all the things and show all sorts of emotion, but then as soon as they get an animal down, it's like this just stone cold just like smug look. And like, and I try to get them to smile or like show some emotion, and they just won't. So it's like there's something like deeply rooted in people. I don't know. It's a very very interesting thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure.
It goes back to that whole story of the guy asking me, why am I smiling in the picture? I'm like, dude, because I was just
Right.
so joyful that I accomplished what I set out to accomplish. So
Yeah.
then, do we need to start a movement of like,
Hashtag start smiling. Yeah.
yeah, either hashtag start smiling, or if everyone didn't smile and posted
Mm.
grip and grins, what would that do for the anti and non-hunting crowd?
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, boy, that would really stir the pot. Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, everyone, we are posting grip and grin, like, grin.
Yeah, grip and grit. Just
So I don't know. Just these are the things that I think of, and I'm like, you're a photographer, so you understand because you want to draw that emotion. The emotion is what makes it so powerful, right?
Yep.
Um, man, I love it. Okay, we're gonna shift gears to photography and videography real quick, and then we'll wrap this podcast up. If somebody is wanting to get into just starting to create content besides a cell phone, they're like, hey, I want to get a camera. I want it to be able to, both video and photography. Um, Obviously, the whole saying is without breaking the bank, right? Balling on
Right.
a budget. What professional gear do you shoot with, and then what would you recommend people getting into?
Well, I was gonna say iPhone, but I guess I can't say that now.
Yeah,
So, now let me just talk about the iPhone really quick
yeah,
because the beauty, it doesn't have to be an iPhone, it could be an Android or whatever. But the beauty of these things is we always have them. They're always in our pocket.
uh
Maybe
huh,
they're in our bino harness. We're using them for navigation, and they're they're not in the way. Like if you're actually hunting, say you're bow hunting and you have a big camera on you, like it's kind of hard to like
yeah,
capture stuff at the same time. Also, there's a few different adapters that you can connect your phone directly to your binos or a spotting scope, and you can like get some pretty insane wildlife footage and photos. So I'm a huge proponent of the phone. Obviously, my job is big fancy cameras, something like this with a little tiny lens. But anyway, but if someone is looking to do more than an iPhone, more than an Android, whatever, um, I would check out the Sony A6500 series of cameras.
ooh,
It's they're a mirrorless camera, meaning the lens can pop off like these guys, but they're at like a fraction of the price. Like you can get a pretty good, like I think it's like the A6600 with a couple different lenses for probably like 1,500 bucks.
yeah,
A pro level camera is going to run you like 5 grand. And so, play within your budget.
hmm,
But probably the number one tip, and it's going to sound so obvious, but like, and part of the reason of why I always recommend the phone is because it's always out. A lot of guys, they'll drop 5 grand and they'll get a big fancy camera, but it's so big and it's so cumbersome. Even though it takes amazing photos and videos, they actually put it back in their backpack and they're like, "Well, I'll just pull it out, when something cool happens."
hmm,
But when the camera's in your backpack, you're not taking photos, you're
right.
not taking video. So it's like you got to have that thing out and accessible, and that's where something small like the iPhone or even this A6600, they're much smaller than like the full Sony mirrorless cameras.
Yep, yep, yeah.
So
I love that. What camera did you just hold up?
this one is the Sony A7R5.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So
Look at you getting after it.
yeah.
I found that so I ended up going Sony A7 III.
Okay.
Kind of middle of the road, good battery life, decent for videography and photography. And so I have two of these and a couple different lenses. But it's really interesting, like as you grow in your skill set, you really do outgrow the technology of these cameras, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, an iPhone is great because it's always out, but as a photographer, and you're like, okay, well, I really need to dial in my aperture or my shutter speed or all these different things. Like you're not gonna it's not easy to do that through an iPhone. You can, like they make
Yeah.
commercials about how you can, but when it's raining or snow and it's a touch screen and it's difficult, right?
Yep.
So that's awesome. I love that. What what software do you use for editing?
For all of my photos, I use Adobe Lightroom.
Hmm.
It just lives on my computer, and I mean, I've literally got a million photos in there that I manage. It's all pretty seamless. You can, you star things, you can color label things, you can. It's just like a really, really amazing way to both organize and edit and deliver the photos, or pump them out on social media, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of a all-in-one platform. But I've been using that for, I mean, ever since I got started for,
Hmm.
15 plus years now. And
Yeah.
then for video editing, I do a lot of stuff on my phone, like little edits on my phone, and I use an editing program called CapCut. It's owned by the parent company TikTok, so that might rub some people the wrong way, but it's amazing. You can just do some crazy stuff with it, and it's just so seamless. And then for like video editing with the fancier cameras, DaVinci Resolve.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
So I used to do Adobe Premiere Pro,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I used it for like 6 years, and the program would just crash nonstop, and it was kind of a pain in the butt. And then I had a few people be like, "Dude, DaVinci Resolve is like, it doesn't crash. You can do all your color grading and in within the program, and that's what most of us use to color grade anyway." I was like, "Yeah, I'll try it." And that was like 3 years ago. So
Ah,
yeah.
that's cool. I love that. I love that. Well, brother, what words of wisdom or advice or things you want to leave our listeners with before we wrap up?
Ooh, yeah. Without saying the iPhone thing, yeah, it's going to be the iPhone. It's if you're on the fence, or if you just want to get into hunting and you want to share and document your experiences, just use your phone. Like this thing, it's so easy. It's so little. It's always out.
Yeah.
I mean, this new iPhone 16, it's got a 1x lens, it's got a 0.5x lens, so like super wide, and it's got a 5x lens.
Oh,
And
5X.
yeah, it's crazy. Like the zoom is pretty insane.
That's
And so
crazy.
most of us already have something like this. So don't overthink it,
Y-
and just go film stuff and capture those moments. And yeah, I guess the other thing about capturing and documenting moments and stories, and kind of bounces off what you were saying, kind of your why, or maybe why you do it. And this is certainly for me. So I've been filming my hunts and vlogging for a number of years now, and it's so fun to go back and relive some of these moments.
mhm.
And honestly, if I didn't do it, if I didn't take photos, if I didn't take video, I would forget probably 90% of these cool experiences that I got to have.
Yeah.
And and like yes, there is, if you do work in the space, there is at a certain point going to be some financial incentive, but that's not really at my core why I do it. Like we went to my wife and I went to New Zealand for a month, and like we filmed the whole thing and made a video, and it's got like 3,000 views on YouTube, like whoop de doo.
Hmm.
But it's like, man, we're gonna be able to forever go back and look at that and like relive that adventure and those amazing times. And so, um, yeah, I don't know. So just search for your why. Your
Yeah.
why, like why you want to hunt, and then also like if you're picking up a camera, like really really dial in your why and stick to it.
I love that. I just want to add on to that real quick, and anyone who is married or was formerly married, went through a wedding day. One of the biggest things is the wedding photographer, right? Why? Because you want to capture these epic moments in your life. Whether you look back at them in 20 years, 5 years, the next week, whatever, you have it. That is how I view filming and photography of my hunts, is because it's such that big monumental moment in my life. I don't want it to pass by without being able to concrete it in memory and legacy to both mine, but also my children's and maybe even my children's children. So something to think about, everybody, as you wrap this episode up. So, Steve, really appreciate it, man. You're a fun one to talk to. I really look forward to hearing how your seasons go and catching up with you again on another episode down the road.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's do it and share some more stories down the road.
Heck yeah, I love it. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, rating, review. All that stuff helps get the mission of mentorships conservation out that much more. If you haven't gone to Carbon TV, go check out season 5 of Soul Seekers is live out now, as well as a new episode of the podcast every week. Thanks you so much for listening, tuning in. Be blessed. Freedom on. Good luck in your upcoming hunts. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating, as it helps us share our mission of mentorship as conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure.